Does fear stop you from speaking, from communicating effectively? Or maybe you are already a speaker, but you're just not connecting to your audience. Well, keep listening. Hi, I'm Christine Rothdeutsch, and I'm the host of Make It Click. And my guest today is actor, author, speaker, Colin Egglesfield. Welcome to the show, Colin.
Thanks, Christine. Thanks for having me.
So as I was saying, as we were preparing for this, you come at this topic from a different perspective. In my world, everybody that I've learned about speaking, about communicating, is really from the business world. But you're coming from the acting industry. So explain to our audience how where's the connection? And I guess basically I'm saying, why should we listen to you?
Well, thanks again for having me here. And as you mentioned, I am a professional actor. I've been acting for over 25 years of my life. And when I was growing up, I was acting was never anything that I ever thought would be in the realm of possibility because I was always that kid that was nervous getting up in school and answering questions or giving a report in front of a group of people. And as I got older, I started to just get really frustrated that I wasn't able to communicate maybe as effectively as I would like to. And I had the opportunity to jump into an acting class when I was happened to end up in New York City. And it was the first time that I actually felt like there was a plan and some actual practice in how to authentically communicate with another human being, because where else out there in the world do we really get to practice what is the art of communication? And with acting, when we get a script, the words are there on the page. So you get to actually do what we call a scene breakdown and a character analysis. And once you start to break down a scene analysis, like when you're writing a keynote speech that you have to give to an audience, essentially what you want to do is make sure that keynote speech or whatever scene that we are analyzing, that there's an actual arc to it. There's a story to it. And the more that we can tap into the story of whatever it is that we are communicating, people communicate and connect with story better than any other sort of medium that is out there. That's why Hollywood and the entertainment industry is so popular, is because that's where we go to actually learn more about who we are. It allows us to connect with other individuals, other human beings, and to do this on a very deep soul level. And I think one of the most important things we have to remember as communicators is that when we are communicating with someone, we're not just sharing information, we're actually causing some sort of connection so that people really feel that they can trust us, that they know who we are, that they know that they're what they're getting. Because there's a lot of noise out there in the world, and it's hard to know who to trust and where to spend your time and your energy and your money towards. And with these acting classes, I would encourage anyone to take an acting class if you have the opportunity. And I actually have created it's essentially an acting class for non-actors that allows people to practice the art of intentional communication, where we do this scene analysis and this scene character breakdown, and we ask the questions of who, what, when, where, why. And by answering these questions, whenever we are having to deliver a piece of communication, we get intentionally connected to what the message is, why it matters, and what is the outcome that you're hoping to have on your audience. And then not only that, but is how are you showing up to deliver the communication? Because what we don't realize and what we learn in acting class is it's not just the words that come out of your mouth, it's who you are being when you are actually saying these words. So by connecting your core identity, or your self-identity is what we talk about in acting class, to your core values that resonate with you on a deep level. For me, I love to inspire people. I love to be courageous. And I like to be self-expressed because that was something that wasn't very easy for me. And so when I work with my clients, I help them connect to their three core identity values, and then I help them connect to their message and the words on the page, not just from an informational point of view, but from a transformational perspective of how do you want these words to land on your audience, and how do you want these words to inspire people on a deep level.
Mhm.
And by doing this analysis in my classes called Beyond Impact, we cover all of this, and the very things that I learned in acting class have allowed me to give me the confidence and the tools to be able to show up in front of an audience to not only do my acting, which has allowed me to work with Kate Hudson and Sylvester Stallone and Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sally Field and do movies all over the world. It has completely changed my life because this is not something that I ever thought would be in the realm of possibility for myself, being someone who is always nervous speaking in front of other people.
Well, I like you mentioned what you're looking for in the piece that you're working on. And the last thing was, and what outcome do you want? I wrote that down on my card here. I'm finding that so important when I'm speaking, even personally, here at home. I ask myself, if I open my mouth right now, what outcome do I want? And will it be different? And it really changes how we communicate when we stop and ask ourselves that. But for you to be able to help people to work on that and really get that outcome, that is why, because again, you're talking about communicating in every facet of our lives. It's not just being a speaker on a stage or, presenting a webinar or something. It's really in every aspect of our lives. So yes, that is fantastic. And taking an acting class, yes, boy, that sounds like fun. Um, so I just want to bring up about the fact that so many people, though, when they think about speaking, I'm afraid to speak. In fact, I just met a woman the other week at a conference sitting next to her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I don't speak. It's like I'm afraid." I said, I can help you with that because I know a few tools in my toolbox that can get people even just to speak to a small group. But can you help our listeners, understand, some things that they could start doing for themselves if they find they're saying, "Oh, I'm afraid. I have that fear."
Sure. Yeah, one of the first things that we do in acting class is our acting teacher would get us up onto the stage and get us. The idea is to get you out of your head and into your body. So anything that you can do before you know you have to give a speech or a talk, or even if it's you're going to have a dinner with someone, or if you're going on a date, or any sort of place where you have to give communication and connect with another human being, it's important that we start to draw our awareness not from what we think we need to say or the analytical part of delivering our message. It's how can we draw the awareness from what we need to say down into our heart center. And by trying to connect with another human being energetically from your heart center, you start to connect to your body, and your body has and holds a lot of information and a lot of energy. And I don't know if you knew this, Christine, but there's a lot of science behind communication, and they've actually done some. Um, they're able to measure the energetic field that a human being radiates with. And
Oh, I'm there. Yes, I've gotten into that in this past year and a half.
yeah,
Yes, it's
okay. So
fascinating.
they actually have detected that within a 5 foot, on average, about 5 feet away from your heart center, we radiate the energy that whatever it is that our our body is actually resonating with, and our energy actually starts with the thoughts that we have in our head. So if we're constantly walking around with the thoughts of I'm not good enough, or who am I to think that someone would listen to what I have to say, that energy is the energy of contraction and fear and judgment. And that energy actually radiates out into our environment. So when you're around people, you can actually sense from people who is radiating with the energy of fear and contraction, and who is radiating with the mindset and the thoughts of, how can I be of service to this person? How can I get to know this person to find out maybe what it is that I can offer them to make their life better or help them communicate more freely? And most of the time, once I started to realize this, one of my acting teachers gave me a great piece of advice. She said, when you go into an audition, when we go into any sort of like job interview, because that's essentially what an audition is, a lot of the times we're so nervous because we make it about ourselves, and we're worried about what other people are going to think of us, what their judgment of us is. And by showing up with that energy of making it all about me, 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 and I hope they like me, I hope they pick me, I hope I don't screw up, I hope I say the right words, we're so in this space over here that people can tell that it's all about us. And so my acting teacher said, think of it as, it's not your job to get the job. Your job is to go into that room or to go onto that stage and to share with the audience or to share with the casting director everything that you have to bring to this role or this character or this communication. And then at that point, you're essentially there with the energy of serving them and helping them find the best actor for this role. It may be you, but most of the time it's not going to be you. And so you show up into these rooms and these situations with the attitude of non-attachment to the outcome. And when you love what you do, you're not attached to the outcome. When you love what you do, when you love to communicate, when you love to share, when you love to inspire, when you love to, so by connecting to the energetic idea of who you are and what you represent and what you are there to help people with. For me, I love to inspire people, and I love to help people fulfill on their dreams. And that takes the pressure off me, so that when I show up to do my social media, or I show up to do these podcasts, or I show up to do one of my keynote talks, I just connect with my audience. And I have, much like when you show up at a party with like an amazing recipe or like a dish or a cake that you've made, when you've put the time and love into something that you've made and you're offering it to someone, it's like, not everyone is going to like chocolate. Not everyone is going to like your grandma's chicken recipe. But as long as you just show up and you're offering a gift of yourself, the gift of information, the gift of your energy, you got to just know that some people are going to love it. Some people are not going to like it. Your job is not to please everyone. Your job is to just love what you do and keep radiating out there into the world your message. And you are eventually going to connect and find your audience. But you've got to just get very clear about what that message is as well. Because if you try to be everything for everyone, your message is going to be too general and not land on your audience.
Yeah. I like how you said not being attached to the outcome. Okay. So I've had several business coaches over the years, and, keep saying the same thing. And it's so easy to say, but boy, is it hard to just accept it. So let me ask you, as an actor, Colin, how many times maybe were you rejected over the years? So our audience can hear,
Yeah, that's a good question. So I wrote a book called Agile Artist a few years ago. And when I was writing the book, I did the math, and over my 20-year acting career, I've gone on over 2,000 auditions. So that's 2,000 opportunities to walk into a room and within the first few seconds, connect with the casting director and the people in that room and radiate this message of who I am as this character and what it is that my character is what is my objective when I walk into this room as this character. And over those 2,000 auditions, if you look on my IMDb page on the internet, I only have about 50 credits to my name. So that's only about a 1 or 2% success rate. So if you could look at it as I fail 98% of the time. But because I love what I do, I don't look at it as failure. I look at it as an opportunity to do what I love 100% of the time, knowing that most of the time it's not going to get me the job, but as long as I am connected to my love for what I do, obviously we got to be realistic. We got to pay the bills. We got to make sure we're earning money and that the money is coming in. But what we got to do is we can't be attached to the money. We can't be attached to getting the client or getting the job. What we do is we show up with the confidence. And as an actor, I show up with the full confidence of knowing that I am this character and believing through and throughout that I know what my objective is. I know what my strategy is for when I walk into the room as this character. And I know at a certain point, you do the work, you practice, you rehearse, and it takes about 6 weeks for a Broadway actor to go from the first rehearsal to where they're able to step on the stage in Broadway. So just, you got to give yourself some patience and some kindness in this as well, because you can't just expect to show up and be a world-class communicator. It takes practice. And that's why I created this class, Beyond Impact, where you can actually show up once a week for 2 hours and practice how to break down a bit of communication. Whether what we do is I assign a scene from a movie or a TV show, where we do our analysis of it, and then you get the practice of, I pair you up with someone in the class. You get practice with doing the character analysis, the scene breakdown, and then you practice recording your scenes with each other. We bring that back to the class, and then we get to watch you on camera, your recording of your communication. And by doing this, you'll start to understand and see some of the little idiosyncratic twitches and things that we may have, or some people's, may blink a lot. And just by understanding and becoming better at the way in which you deliver your communication, you instantly start to have access to the confidence, knowing that I know how I look, I know how I sound. And if you don't like something, or if something seems off, you're going to get feedback from not only myself and my 25 years of expertise, but you're going to get feedback from the class, where most of the time in life, you don't get this feedback. Mm-hmm. If you go for an interview and you don't get the job, most of the time, no one calls you up and says, you know what, Colin, the reason why you didn't get the job is because you kept looking down at the floor and you kept looking up and you just seemed unsure of yourself when you were delivering this communication. Mm-hmm. And so this is actual real-time feedback. And the more that we practice something, the better you get at it. And that's why this is so invaluable for anyone who's wanting to level up their communication, not just as a public speaker, but just even learning how to have more intimate and authentic conversations with your spouse, with your kids, family members. This has helped me immensely with just me being able to be more present and communicate more effectively with my family and my friends.
Yes, and it's so much needed today. And I love how you talk about, being able to communicate effectively and authentically. Now, I'm into being effective. It's like, I believe in, being effective in your productivity. It's like, don't just be busy. It's like, it has to be effective. So I really like to hear that from you, and connecting, helping people to connect on that deeper level. As you were talking about the energy fields earlier, we don't really think, and this is an area that I've been learning too, about the conscious and unconscious mind, and how these things play into, how we communicate and how our lives are and everything. But yeah, it's something that every human being needs to really take a look at if they want to be a better communicator, like you say, with everybody in your life. So Colin, how can people find out more about this course that you have, this Beyond Impact?
Yeah, sure. They can go to beyondimpactmastery.com. That's www.beyondimpactmastery.com. And yep, I think there's an extra L in there that doesn't belong there.
Okay. Well, it's Beyond Impact. Okay.
Yeah, beyondimpactmastery.com. And you can also shoot me an email at info@colinegglesfield.com. And happy to jump on I like to do 20-minute discovery calls just to get an idea of who you are, where you're at, what you're needing support with. And I do one-on-one coaching as well. I am currently working with a few different clients and helping them become more impactful and intentional on the stage as keynote speakers. I'm working with a psychiatrist. I'm working with a government employee, and they have to get up on stage and give talks and presentations. And they're really great at what they do, but they just haven't had the practice in stagecraft and connecting with an audience. There's 4 different personality types in audience that people hear your communication from. And so we talk about what those different communication types are. And similar to the 5 love languages that Gary Chapman talks about in his book, we're all different, and one size does not fit all when it comes to communication. And so by understanding some of the ways in which people receive communication, I teach you how to craft your message and cycle it through these different ways in which you can deliver your message so that it resonates with people on those deeper levels. And when people connect with you on the deeper level, where it's not as analytical, because we've got our it's called the reticular activating mechanism that tries to protect us from all the noise out there in the world. It's essentially our reptilian lizard brain making sure that it's guarding us from danger. And the important thing to do is when we're communicating with people, we've got to make people feel that there's something worthy of them listening. You've got to make them feel that there's no danger in this situation. And there's a bit of novelty that helps with allowing someone to receive your communication that we talk about. So this is everything that I talk about in Beyond Impact Mastery. And if you're interested in getting more information, there's information on the website. And then again, if you're interested in just doing a chat, we can talk about where you're at, what you're needing support with by shooting me an email at info@colinegglesfield.com.
So, Colin, I do have one more question for you, and it really isn't about your program or about communication. It's more about when you decided to go into this area of having a business other than being an actor. And as you developed your program and you had to build a website and all these moving pieces, is there anything that you can say helped you to make it click for this part of Colin Egglesfield?
That's such a great question, Christine, because the analogy I like to use is, as an actor, I have one job, which is to analyze the script, show up on the set, and deliver the message. There's the director that directs the story. There's the producers that put the director and the actors together. There's the camera operators who operate the camera. There's the lighting guys who handle the lighting. There's the wardrobe stylist. There's the caterer. And when you enter into the world of entrepreneurship, you're doing everything, or at least you're having to oversee everything. And it can really water you down. And for me, I'm not technologically savvy. So what I've had to do is learn how to find the people who are really good at the technology aspect of it. Cheyenne Lindemuth is my technology marketing expert, and she's helping me with my social media, setting up my Zoom calls and my Patreon platforms and my circle groups and my Kajabis. Like, there's so much technology out there, and you can get overwhelmed with a lot of it. And it can sometimes, I feel like I'm more of a tech service person than an actual coach who's trying to support people with whatever it is that they're really needing help with. And that's why it's important to delegate to the people who are the experts in their field. Now, when you're first starting out, obviously, if you're on a limited budget, that can be a little bit tricky. But I think the best thing to do is just keep it simple, focus on one platform. I focus on Instagram mostly, and I connect that to Facebook, so all my social media gets connected. So I only have to do this one time. And I think the more that you just focus on doing one thing really great, to the point where you're generating enough income to be able to then pay for other people to venture out into these different arenas. I think that's the best piece of advice I could give someone, because it can be incredibly overwhelming. Do I do Instagram? Do I do TikTok? Do I do Twitter? Do I do just pick one and get really good at that one and then branch off from there?
Yes. Well, great advice, Colin. Thank you for that. And thank you so much for being here on Make It Click today. It's been a great discussion about